Tell your friends! Tell your friends about Hooks and Ladders, but also about songstudio.ca. You can get all kinds of information about songwriting, tips, and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, like, follow, and subscribe. That's what we need. That's what you need. Everything you do is a decision. It doesn't feel like it. Sometimes it feels like you're just being led into doing something or something just happens. But really, when you're writing a song, you're making a decision. A series of decisions, actually. And in this case, Andrea made a decision to use a guitar that other people generally aren't using, right? That sounds different, but can still be played like a guitar. But it creates a vibe. And so I think that, you know, you've acknowledged your limitations as a guitar player. She's fine, by the way. But acknowledging it, it's a good preemptive way of having people go, oh, wait, she can play. But also,
just all your compliments. No, I'm just joking.
If you feel you have limitations, work around them. Like, figure out what they are, acknowledge them, own them, and then think of another way of dealing with it. In this case, I've always admired that you did this when you made this change, and it does suit your voice. You know, because it is a bigger and deeper range. And
you know what, I do find, like, sometimes I do miss the chugging of that acoustic guitar, and, like, you know, the and I never used a pick, but even my nails on the string, it's a very different sound. But there's something with this that it's a little more subtle, but it creates so much space. And because I'm predominantly a singer first and foremost, not a music like player, it gives me a lot of room. And I like that a lot. Literally, when I started, I told you I could play like a few chords. So I was always this diehard, like, in my head, I entered into the folk world, and I got influenced by, you know, the Flo Hills of the world, and I stayed there. And I wouldn't touch a pedal. What's a pedal? No, I'm just going to play my guitar. I don't even need a patch cord. Just give me a mic and I'm fine. And then, you know, so now I use a simple reverb. I also have a hum debugger because this is a single coil pickup. So the way that it resonates, basically it buzzes like hell. And on every recording, actually Colin Cripps from Blue Rodeo, he found me this because I had broken up with an ex who's a musician in the industry, and he had one of these. It was all crusted yellow from the 90s hanging on his wall. He'd never played it. So I picked it up and I'm like, what is this guitar? It's so cool. Why is it longer? So that's how I got introduced to it. We were starting to split up. I wrote a bunch of the songs on my record, Nuda, about that whole relationship. And then, of course, his son calls me and he wanted his guitar back. So I was like, well, now I need my own Dan Electro baritone guitar. So I found it, but it's really buzzy. So you have to hold it sometimes in the studio, like a certain way or face a certain direction. It's so weird. And it's loud. It's not like, it's like a lawnmower sometimes. So that's why I got the hum debugger. I have a delay. It's a tap delay. So sometimes when I'm playing, like, I have an old school kind of sounding song that sounds like Sleepwalker, yeah. Hold Me. So I use that for a few of my songs. And then, of course, because I came from a harmony band, and I can't afford to pay singers anymore to sing with me because it's just too expensive to be on the road with a full band all the time. I have a little harmony pedal that connects with my guitar, so it's supposed to read my chords going in. And then I can choose if I want like a third, a fifth, a sandwich third, lower and higher. I can choose a variety of voices. And I use that, you know, I try to use it as subtly as I can, but it does kind of creep in and sound nice, especially when I'm playing a solo or a duo show, that it just adds a little bit of an extra layer to the sound. And I will say that having these pedals has influenced my songwriting and has changed the shape of certain songs. So if you are into, you know, I know you're into harmonies because you play with the band, right? Getting a pedal like that, songs come out of you that a solo voice, maybe it wouldn't do it for you, but when you hear the multiple voices, you're like, oh, this is something, right? I can hear this on a recording. And live, this you know, this carries, this is powerful because of this pedal. So it'll encourage you to write in a new way, in a different way. So I do highly recommend, you know, if you're not there yet and it's just like, oh, technology, like I was, totally get it. But even starting with a little pedal, you know, what does that do to your sound? And you can go to Long and McQuaid and you can spend the entire afternoon trying out pedals and bring one home with you to rent. I've rented before I bought, so you can do that too.
Yeah, you can rant and give it a go. Well, since we're talking about this, would you grace us with a song?
Oh, morning glory, get me out of bed. Oh, sunlight, adorn me. In the sky overhead, it's so hard to hide how empty I feel inside. Most days waiting for you. Daybreak pours in through my window. I open my eyes, I'm still lying here in this pain. While the radio plays another sad song. This bright light is burning, I feel more at home in the rain. I've been picturing your tiny little face, your softness, you wonder, your grace. Do you think we might still find each other? Oh, morning glory, get me out of bed. Oh, sunlight, adorn me. In the sky overhead, it's so hard to hide how empty I feel inside. Most days waiting for you. This longing, it's bigger, and it bursts in the sun. Time is a merciless one. Oh, morning glory, get me out of bed. Oh, sunlight, adorn me. In the sky overhead, it's so hard to hide how much I want you and keep it inside. Most days waiting for you.
Wow. You said that at the beginning of your writing experiences, the first two records particularly, were almost therapy or were therapy, very personal. That song is very, very personal as well, obviously, but it's from a much later period. So what's the difference between writing that song as a very personal song and your first efforts?
I mean, the vulnerability I think is the same. Just being able to really like share your honest perspective on something or what you're going through. I think like as songwriters, as artists in general, our job is to be a reflective light to the world, right? We're a mirror so that people can see themselves in our art, in general, right? That's how we move forward, I think, as a society. I think the difference is just me. Like I'm older. It's a different theme that I'm struggling and juggling with, right? I mean, I could play one of my first songs off my baby album, so you can see like it's sweet. You know, I even do it in a lower register now because I'm old and I'm like older.
Steady there.
But when but when I started, it's just it takes up a different space, I think, and as you grow, these things change and your experiences change and you have a different perspective on them, and still a heavy, I mean, being a parent, that theme, you know, I'd never written about before. And actually when I play this song, you know, even people that have children or people who have lost children, like this song kind of touches all those people. And this is the song that like I couldn't, like I have the CD release, you know, my mom had just had a double mastectomy the day my record, my Quarantine Dream, came out. That was her third cancer. She just had her third cancer like a year and a half ago. 2 years ago. And so, you know, the entire crowd, like Carolyn was there from The Good Lovelies, like Amanda from like they were all sobbing in the audience because they can feel it too in their lives, right?
Sure. Yeah.
We've all felt that void, that emptiness.
Well, yeah, and the experience of it wouldn't be even limited to women. It would be we've all had loss. And but I was curious as well about the approach when you're young and you're writing songs and you're trying to be personal, but you're also trying to work out some stuff, or not. But you're trying to work out some stuff, but you also want to do it in a way people will like. You know, there's those concerns, especially when you're younger. So I'm just curious what the difference is in the approach.
So that's a great point, actually. I cared a lot more about what people thought about my songs the first few records, 100%.
Right.
And now I just write the song. And if it sings well, if production-wise it has a life, you know, and space to add interesting layers and stuff, that's all I care about, because I now know that someone's going to feel it. Not everybody, but someone out there is going to feel it, and it's going to be meaningful to them, or they're going to like a melody, or they're going to like a riff, or, you know, they'll take this from it. So I definitely don't care as much anymore, but I think that's just comes with age. Like even in general as a human in social life, you just don't care as much when you get older, right? Yeah. It's like, hey, we have this one life to live, and we don't spend as much time worrying about what other people think.
My 18, 19, 20-year-old students at Seneca College, I overheard them talking about somebody's parent was dressed so badly, like it's like they didn't care or something like that. And I said, well, let me interrupt for a moment. I just want you to know they don't care. And they want to look good for themselves, but they don't actually care what you think. And it's okay that they don't care. And in fact, it's one of the greatest things about getting older is you don't care. Yeah. And it's like, it's so liberating to not worry about, oh my God, what are they thinking, you know? Which, you know, you can't fully escape from as a human being. You know, there are very few people who don't care, even those whose whole vibe is to project, I don't care. Anyway, interesting. And I would think as well, your decades, not to put too fine a point on that because you keep emphasizing your age, but your decades of experience writing songs. But like, even if you're not studying it, and by the way, Andrea is a fantastic mentor. So clearly you've studied it, even if you haven't been aware that you're studying it. So your ability to write a great song, which has developed in that time, is going to affect the way you treat a subject, the way you deal with it. It doesn't make it more artificial. It means, I think, that you're able to get to the nub of it, the truth of it.
I think
better.
It's a combination. So I'm also I'm an English teacher, right? So that was my minor is English, my major was theater. So I did a lot of writing, a lot of poetry, a lot of all that stuff. And then when I teach kids, you know, I'm grading essays, I'm doing all that stuff. So in terms of like putting the written word to use in a communicative way that's effective,
right? That
definitely is part of like my wheelhouse, right? Yeah. Like technically and logically speaking. But then on the other end, I come from like this background that since I was a kid of like extreme expression and emotion and all of that. So when I think the thing is, it wasn't fine-tuned when I started. When I started, I was trying to still hone in on the technical aspect of it, and then I think everything else was very raw. So it came across that way. Right. So, you know, it wasn't for, you know, I could tell it wasn't for everybody. And even myself, I listened back to my records. I had no control over my voice. Songs could have gone elsewhere. They were really like 1-4-5, 1-4-5, you know? Whereas now, it's like the blend of the two.
Right.
It's just a part of like me as a human now. So I think it just comes out that way.